sir. Good afternoon, everyone. We are ready to begin this afternoon's board meeting, but before I do that, I would like to welcome the audience that is seated out there here in our boardroom. It's always nice to start our meeting with not only our staff, of course, we need to be here, obviously, but also have parents, have committee members, and definitely our students join us. Like I said, we always start the meeting with a very, very positive tone. So thank you and welcome for coming this afternoon to support your students, your kids, I'm sorry. So now I will officially begin this meeting. It is 6:01 p.m. I call this meeting of the Fair Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Please stand.
If you'll please bow your heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we are gathered together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and positivity. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work and to help us to encourage each other to excel and to excellence. Lord, I ask today for your prayer for our beautiful community of La Feria. I ask you to please be with those who have lost loved ones. I ask that you please be with those who are not feeling well, those who are ill, are going through some type of situation medically. Lord, I thank you again for all you do for us. We ask this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes for February 16th of 2026? I have a motion by Mrs. Montalvo, and do I have a second? And a second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. And now the reason we have parents in our audience, we will celebrate our La Feria early college, high school band first. Sorry.
Good evening, Board President, Mrs. Torres, and board members. Tonight we are here to celebrate student achievements and recognize and celebrate. We have Mr. David Carlona, band director for La Feria High School, and Mr. Randy Ashley, that is the director of choir that will be presenting our students. First, we have Mr. Carlona.
Board in front of you, we have a couple of band members. We are missing several members because they're involved in a lot of things. We have some students that participate in our UIL Region Solo Ensemble. We had 24 students attend. All of them did really well. We had a couple of standouts that qualified for state, and those people are, first we had Jaciel Trejo on alto sax solo. Then we had Carolina Gisello, Michael Garza, Ryan Paredes, Dominic Salinas Rosales. They were with a saxophone quartet. And then we had another saxophone trio that consisted of Sal Chavarria, Michael Garza, who's here, and Dominic Rosales. And then we had Halo Garcia on a euphonium solo. And then we had Noah Salazar, who's not here, on a snare solo. And then we had Logan Duran, who's our flute player, but he made it on marimba solo. And then we had a percussion ensemble who consisted of Logan, Maya Munoz, Diego Navarro, and Noah Salazar, who also, so they'll be participating in State Solo Ensemble in Austin in May. Also, we had one member make the all-state band. Through a rigorous process, he came out on top and made the band for the third time, and that is Haciel Trejo right here, all-state band.
Thank you so much. Board, if we can take a picture with, and, Mr. Cardona, Mr. Velazquez, can you come up?
Mr. Cardona, you want to move a little bit to your left?
You're good, huh?
Mr. Briones, do you want to come down here?
Everybody on three, smile, don't blink, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Awesome job, sir.
You can stay on the side, so you don't have to go. We're gonna do choir next.
I'll claim you. Problem.
Good evening, board. Good to see all of y'all on the week right before spring break. We had a very successful UIL solo ensemble. We set a record of 26 students that will qualify for state contest. So, and a first ever for Feria Early College High School, a first ever magical group that qualified for state solo. So let me go down the line. There's several that are not here tonight because of UIL. Some are sick and some are grounded. So we begin with Abigail Agado. Just kind of give a little wave so people can see you. Faith Chavarria, she's with One Act Play for Ready Tomorrow. Melody Castaneda. Yankee Salinas is homesick. Victoria Reyes. Madison Liao. Nathan Cabrera. Lauren Cornegie, who is at home, grounded. Jasmine Gonzalez. Shyla Lopez. Alicia Trejo. Hayden Henderson. Jaden Fernandez. Selena Lopez. Wave, so they know you're here. Azul, who, Almazan, is with One Act Play rehearsing. Abigail Guerrero, who is with One Act Play also. Jesselyn De Alejandro. John Sanchez, he's the tall quarterback in the back. Mia Quintero. Juan Mena. Aiden Gomez. Thomas Gutierrez. Renee Lehman, they're in the back. Luis Garcia, who is also grounded. Clarissa Silva, and Halo Garcia, the 2026 UIL State Solo and Ensemble contestants. So, now, the first ever madrigal group. This is a group of 4 voices, and they've seen a madrigal song in front of the judge, and they will be going to for state contest also. Halo Garcia, bass. Aiden Gomez, tenor. Abigail Agado, alto, and Faith Chavarria, soprano, who is not here. So congratulations for saying that. Also, we'd also like to recognize 2026 TMEA All-State Small School Choir member, Halo Garcia. It's been a row for him for making All-State. So next year, we're trying to get more kids making it to All-State. So like I said, there's several missing, and we're very proud of their hard work. And so they will be after spring show, which is May 15th. Spring show, we're doing Disney. And then the next week is the finals, plus we'll be getting ready to go to, after graduation, we'll be going to near Austin for state solo contest. So thank you again, parents, for your support, and board, thank you for your support, and the teachers that put up with me asking the kids to come in certain times of the day to rehearse their songs. So thank you again, kids. Picture time. Yes? Me? All right, Shorty's up front. We gotta make room for the board back here. What's up?
No, are we
I'm gonna do it like tomorrow.
There's somebody in front of you, just find the window.
Like you're singing, find the window. Addison, get in the window, not behind me.
There you go. You got everybody? Okay.
Not a professional camera.
All right, everybody on 3. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank
The superintendent can be
Y'all just want to try to find them? If y'all want
Okay. One love, one love. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for your support. We appreciate it. Thank y'all for
It's going in a circle and they just stuck like that.
remember when we first started out?
Yes.
Meetings will be in auditorium, so it will be.
Each group will stand for you can take the picture.
Thank you, board. We appreciate the recognition.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank y'all for coming. You may stay for the board meeting, ma'am, or you're welcome to leave.
Either way.
Either or. You can tell that everybody wants to stay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ann. Do we have anyone for public comment? Thank you, ma'am. The first information item is a bond project update.
Thank you, Board President Castillo, Superintendent Torres, Board members that are present. We wanted to show you our webpage. I know that our communications coordinator, Mr. Espinosa, has been working on it. We worked on it this morning just to do some updates. We're trying to see if we can do it, the updates more frequently. So we kind of wanted to go over it. Ms. Ramos, if we can just click on the one for WB Green paving. I'm not gonna go through every single one, but here's where we wanted to show. We removed the video, because if y'all know, the last time they had done an air review, but we've redone the way the parking spots are. And so really what we wanted to show on all of these is we've updated a lot of them with the estimated completion date. Because as y'all know, a lot of these we started in June, July, August with the procurement process and all that. So a lot of these, as we've been bringing to y'all the agenda items, a lot of these we're starting to begin construction on them. So with WB Green, that one, it's completed. As a matter of fact, one of the agenda items today is for you all to do, to approve substantial completion. Cause that, you all have to approve, that you all accept the project so that we can release final payment. With the baseball and softball field complex project, again, that one, you all see, you know, the work that's being done out there. So with the baseball, softball complex and the roofing, you know, those two are gonna be about a year-long projects. And so again, those, again, based on the bids and so forth, these are projects that we expect to be done, you know, around October, November, December, you know. It's funny because sometimes we're like, well, when it comes to weather days, like, we need the rain, but in this case, we don't want it to rain, so it's kind of give and take. And then if we go on to the HVAC system, or the Marquise project, I'm sorry, go ahead and go there. You know, these are just some of the renderings that we bid out. Again, we have an agenda item that we're bringing to the board so we can go out for bid and have the proper, you know, vendors submit their bids on this. So these are actual renderings of what we're hoping that it'll look like. We've been working with our engineers on this. And then if we go to the roofing project, I wanted to show them. So we've been having monthly meetings with our, with the general contractor and the roofing consultant. So here's where we actually wanna show, you know, as they work on these. The next one that they're gonna start working on is the high school. And the reason they started with Vell, you know, we were asked why Vell. Vell is the only one that it's a different type of roofing system. The other ones are all aluminum. So this one, it's a different crew, so it's not because they start here first, the other one, they could be working on it simultaneously. So instead of delaying it, we wanted to make sure we got that one going. So we go on to the awnings project. That's one of the projects that we're bringing also, tonight for the board to approve, to approve, based on the bids, a vendor, and then of course to authorize the superintendent to negotiate. And these are actual renderings of what those will look like. So again, on these, we'll be doing 4 of the 5 middle schools. And if you go back to Green, so Green's the one that'll have, you know, a lot of those awnings built on there. And because of the rerouting of where the buses will be coming in through. So, you know, it's a lot of changes that we're doing for a lot of our campuses. And then of course, if we go on to the playground equipment, that's one that the board approved at the last board meeting. And these are actual renderings of what those playground equipment will look. So they're very similar. That one's for Sam Houston. And then the next one. And that will actually be artificial turf. I know in the past it was like mulch, so it is. And of course, you know, there's a lot of technicalities that go behind it. You know, it has to have proper drainage, things like that. But these are at the actual, again, renderings of what it'll look like for both Sam Houston and for Dominguez Elementary. If we go to the bleacher report project, that one. And again, this is one that, and I'll briefly talk about it because we are bringing a recommendation for a vendor for this one. This one, if you can see there, I think we had, not the bleachers, I think you have to go back, the brown projects. The one for the gym flooring. Yes, please. Right there. Yes, ma'am. So these are projects that we've been working, again, a lot of times these projects, they work simultaneously with other projects, and the reason I wanted to bring this one up is, you know, we've been working with an engineer for HVAC, right? And so they're doing assessments district-wide on a lot of our buildings, because, you know, based on some of the surveys that we've looked at, you know, we want to make sure that we provide comfortable environments for our teachers and our staff and our students, of course. But if you see this one, the estimated completion date is summer 2027. The reason for that is because this project, it goes hand in hand, and that's where, you know, a lot of these projects, for example, the flooring and the bleachers goes hand in hand with HVAC. So even if you all approve a vendor for the flooring and the HVAC, they cannot install it unless the condensation and humidity issues are corrected. Otherwise, these vendors won't install it. Because, you know, there's a lot of technicalities with the gym floor. The last thing you want is to install a very expensive floor and it warps right away and it voids the warranty. Right. And so given that, there's a lot of factors that go into it, not just we have to take care of the HVAC part first, and then this, but then also work around, the seasons. So in the fall, we have volleyball, and then in late fall, and then into spring, we have, basketball for boys and girls. So we wanna make sure we kind of work around that, so. Again, this was one that, and I mentioned this one because the board, again, if the board approves a vendor tonight, but this is one that we expect not to finish until middle to late summer next year. Yes. So that's about it for those, as we continue to do these LED lighting projects, if we can get them in second to the last. So we have been doing some upgrades on those. I know that we've seen, have y'all seen, gone out there to Sam Houston, there's been some big improvements on those. We've been doing a lot of these LED lighting projects in-house, and it's helping us in the sense that, a lot of these areas, we realize, you know, were dark spots. Another one, for example, that we are looking at is WB Green, now that we've expanded the parking lot. And if y'all remember when we did the paving, we brought a change order to add conduit in the bottom, so we left it prepped so that we could do LED lighting.
And they are currently working on Sanchez and then Dominguez, those are the
Yes,
next
so,
two
so Dominguez,
campuses.
so Dominguez, they've already ordered the lighting, and then of course renting the lift, so we're making sure that we add all these again, cause it's either, in the fall, it's because it gets dark quick, and then now that we've done the spring forward, the mornings are dark when they're dropping off kids, so.
They
these are
also did some
They're also
LED
for safety purposes, yeah, the lighting is very important in the parking lots.
They also did, I know Mr. Briones brought to my attention about when you walked out of the high school, it was really dark, and so they added LED lighting on that walkway. So if you've been at the high school at night, you can see that area is done. Parking lot has not been done yet, but that particular area. So that was part of the bond, is to enhance the lighting for exterior buildings.
And a lot of these, for example, with the awnings, as y'all saw the renderings, for example, green, that has a very long awning. So we're leaving them prepped because what it's gonna do, some of these awnings, they're gonna create these dead spots for security cameras, right, for our student safety. And then the one with green, well, eventually we are gonna have to add lighting in those awnings as well. We all remember a lot of our awnings have lighting under. So again, we wanna make sure that they're left prepped and we're addressing them, you know, as we progress through.
So we did wanna share that, you can share with community members that this is where that they can always look to see what the latest is. If you go down, ma'am, so we can see the menu at the top. One of the other areas that, Mr. Cespedes wanted to share is where it says bid opportunities. Anytime that we go out for bid, if you wanna explain that,
Yeah, so
sir.
if you click on bid opportunities, right now it has, the current, bids, if you click right there on bid opportunities again, thank you. So those are the bids that we have right now for the walkway canopy. So now, once the board approves, we do have to have the, tabulations out for 7 days. So when we had a lot of these projects going on, we had maybe about 6 or 7 of these. So this is where we post the initial bid, if there's any addendums, any changes to it. We add all that in here, so it's always available to our community, and not just for the bond project, but for any other bids, any other projects that we do.
So we do publish in the newspaper, but you can, if anybody's interested, you could tell them, because we have to post for a minimum of 2 weeks, if they look at this page weekly, they will never miss an opportunity to see what is, that they can go out.
Like if you would've seen it back in December, again, we had about 5 or 6 projects that were out for bid at the same time, and then again, I think they kinda go in groups as we start these projects.
And again, we talked about tonight, if you state that the paving is substantially completed, then tomorrow, Mr. Espinosa will add the total amount for that project.
Right.
And so at the end, when we finish all projects, the community can see where we spent
The
all
exact
$20
cost.
million.
I'm sorry, in which newspaper does it come out?
On the
Valley Morning Star.
on
Oh.
Wednesday or Saturday.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Usually Saturday because the,
That's more volume on Saturday, so that's usually where we get more, vendors that take a look at it. So
Perfect.
that's, and it works out because if you all seen, with a lot of these projects, we've had a good turnout in
Yes.
terms of bidders, so that's always good for us.
Good, Saturday.
Yes, yes ma'am.
Thank you.
So the next ones that you'll probably see out there are the ones for the digital marquees.
Okay.
So Again, we usually have to give it to the Valley Morningstar about a week or 2 weeks in advance, so in the next week or two, we'll post it for 2 Saturdays in a row.
Awesome, thank you.
Once, if the board approves tonight.
Any questions?
Any questions of Mr. Cespedes? Thank you, sir. The next item is our benchmark scores.
So I did give you a hard copy because I know it's very hard to read, what is on the screen. So I did want to share one particular area. So you can see that this was the particular test that we took, in November. This was benchmark 1, and this was the test that we took in February. And so you can see the changes from the first test to the second test. One of the areas that I wanted to review is if you look at, I'm going to use 3rd grade as an example, or use 4th grade because Sanchez as an example. So approaches means they consider it passing, and then you have meets and masters. So remember that we talked about this. So for example, this was 2% masters, 28 meets. And a little complicated, but remember 28 actually means 26 because 2% is added in here. And then this 28 is added in here, so then that's how many got approaches by itself. So we shared this about a year ago, just to remind board members. Again, if you look at Sam Houston, 3rd grade reading language arts, 6% mastered. It says 29% meets, which is actually 6% mastered, and the ones that met meets or masters is 29, and then approaches is if they met meets, masters, or approaches. It's a little complicated, but that's kind of how it goes. I wanted to show you domain 1, 2, and 2B. So what the state does for accountability is they look at, which is your approaches. So if your percentages, for example, here is 62, or 4th grade reading language arts is 74. Domain 2A is growth. So while they scored a 74, their growth was 90% in 4th grade. And then their relative performance, and what relative performance is, it's basically domain 1, which is your approaches, but they give you, you could say, a curve because of your economically disadvantaged. And so when the state decides what your score is, they take whichever one is higher. So on here, 4th grade reading language arts, we got a 74, then we got a 59 or a 79. So they would take the 79.
And when you say 54, 79, what is that?
That's how many got approaches or higher. Like you could say pass.
Percent.
Percent, yes.
Percent.
Yes, ma'am.
And even when you do the 79, does that,
That's percent.
okay, but that's a total of the beat and the
No, no.
masters?
Over here, it is relative performance. So they take this 74 and they factor in your economically disadvantaged. So the higher your economically disadvantaged are, you get kind of like a curve. And that's how they come up with the 79. And they base it upon other districts. It's a very complicated.
And you know, Cindy, I don't understand why they do that. I wish
Yes.
someone would explain to me, because we talk about transparency. And, I mean, those figures mean nothing to the community.
No,
You know, as I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the second part, okay.
the benchmark 1.
See.
This was the one that was
first,
taken-
yeah, the first line, okay, the very first line.
Okay,
And it says 55, and when you look at this, the figures I come up with, we have 17 kids that didn't make approaches, we have 19 that made up, did
these are
approach.
percentages, remember?
I understand that, that's why I did percentages.
Okay,
And then 11 kids that did meet.
but how are you coming up with
Well,
students?
this is what I'm doing, and correct me if I'm wrong. What I did, it said that, 71, so I minus the 20, or what is it? I can't
40.
see. Okay, minus the 40, so that leaves what, 35?
Percentage,
Uh-huh,
31.
31. Okay, so I multiply
30.
the 55.
Where'd
We're
you
gonna
get the
multiply
50?
the 55, the kids, number of kids,
Okay, I see what you're
See.
talking about.
okay, and you come up with the actual number. The
Yes.
actual number of students.
Okay.
looking at this one.
So 71% of 55 kids got approaches, meets, or masters.
Yeah, but you're adding the whole thing, okay?
Right.
And if you go, you know, line
Okay,
per
I
line.
see what you're talking
I
about.
guess what I'm trying to figure out, and we need to be very clear about that, how many kids did not make, approaches, you know,
Right.
much less meet or masters?
And I can tell you, with the board and with the state, we use percentages. Teachers don't use percentages, they use students.
But I'm saying, why are we learning from that?
But this is, we have to show you how we're being held accountable
No,
because of.
see, the problem's not with us here. My problem is with TEA. That's not telling us anything. That's not telling us that 17 kids, maybe 15, you know, if my math is not correct, so I did it quickly. 17 kids didn't even make approach out of 55.
Right,
You know, and so why do they leave that part out?
right.
And,
I see.
and you know, you know that I've always had a concern about that. You know, and then they make it seem like 71, it's the approaches, well, it's not 71%, because you have to minus, why
And
don't
then-
they just put the real percentage?
And then if you look at this, Mrs. Casas, I'm gonna give you fourth grade math. So fourth grade math, we had an 82, but growth was a 94. So the state is going to say that is an A campus for math in fourth grade because their growth was a 94. They won't count the 80-something because they take whatever is the highest.
Yeah.
So so they take whatever is best, whether it's domain 1, 2A, or
Yeah.
2B. So and I totally understand when you say, well, what was it? Well, you have to go back and look at the numbers and say, was it domain 1, which is the actual number? Was it domain 2A, which is growth? Or was it 2B, which is relative performance, which is the curve with an economically
And I
disadvantaged?
guess my frustration with that is, they put all this stuff that you don't even know what you're eating anymore.
I went during our midwinter conference, I went to a session, and it was like 55 pages where they were explaining to everybody how to understand this.
Did you understand it?
Well, and I'm gonna tell you, I called
55?
Dr. Kandu today, so I said, I need a tutoring session on, I'm gonna explain to you and tell me if I'm talking about relative performance right. So she said, I'm going to make it easier for people to understand relative performance. It's the scale and you gotta do all this, but it's like domain 1 with a curve, depending, the higher you're economically disadvantaged, the more of a curve you get.
And see,
Yes.
you know, and so, to me, that's, you know, kind of putting a frosting on a cake and making it look real pretty, and not really knowing what's under that cake. And how is that gonna
Well,
help us?
we may not
To me,
understand us, but as long as the
to
teachers
me,
know, as long
You know,
as the
to me,
teachers
what
know.
I'm saying is, tell me how, for me to feel that we're making progress, I wanna know that, in the fall, we had and I'm just making up numbers. We had 17 kids that didn't pass. We had 19 that, you know, are hanging by their fingers. And then we had, you know, 12 that made, so I wanna see the 17 reduced. I wanna see all those numbers.
And this is what is gonna make you even crazier, because I could tell you, we had, and I'm gonna give you an example, fourth grade math. We had 17 out of 55 that did not meet approaches, that did not pass. You could say domain 1. But they got an A because of relative performance or because of growth. So you're going to say, well, how did they? But some of these, if you look, these are lower than this actual score. If you look down here at high school, 62 is what they actually scored, but their relative performance is 58 and their growth was 58. So it's actually, sometimes this is lower, and because high school doesn't have as many economically disadvantaged as elementary, and it all goes back to the income service.
And to me, it's a waste of time, because this domain 1 and domain 2, blah, 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 you know, just tell us how our kids are doing.
But
Period.
don't they do that with the accountability? You know, it's like,
This is how we're being
yeah.
held
And this is
accountable.
how we're
you know,
being
how-
accountable.
Exactly,
Right.
But
and
see,
that's what I'm saying,
that's not being held accountable. That's still
Because
putting
they're giving you all these
all
different
these
options.
domains, all these
Now,
resets, all.
and I can tell you it's gonna get even more confusing with the new testing, because you have a beginning test, middle test, and end test. And the beginning and middle is what you use for TIA. But then, for accountability, it's the end of year for this year and last year's end of year. So their accountability for TIA is different than their accountability for school.
And the bottom line is, this is what gets us to the seventh and eighth graders, you know, not knowing their math and reading. Because we did all this domain, all these things, and then we have seventh and eighth graders, they can't read and don't know math.
That struggle. So, and again.
Anyway, it's just my frustration,
Yes.
and you know that I've always felt
No.
this way about
And
stuff.
we have this, you know, we're not saying if we agree with the state system, we think it's very complex, and if we have to explain it, I can tell you, our teachers do it by student. They look at where their students are because they don't pay attention to all of this because of relative performance and all of that.
And
They
we've
do,
always,
yeah.
and I'm sorry, and I'm speaking from experience, that's what we did back then, we didn't have all this,
But didn't it
different.
also just change?
It changes all the
Exactly.
time.
It changes all the time,
It's
because
about
they
to
don't know
change.
how to
Yeah.
measure.
Right.
So they're just trying to
As long as
throw
you zero
formulas
in.
together and stuff,
And
and
I
so,
don't think that is they don't know how to measure, they don't wanna see the real facts.
Well,
So we're gonna
So
do
we're-
this
Could
and
be
we're
that
gonna do
too.
that.
could,
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
we don't
but how
know
do
that.
No,
we?
and I
you
don't
know?
necessarily disagree with you, Mrs. Casas, as far as the accountability. I can tell you when we go to the 3 test, it's gonna change again.
Mhm, probably.
And so, they've already told us that it's gonna
And
change
that's
again.
why parental engagement is so important, because, I mean, even at the time of my kids going to school, I don't care whatever they, you know, they were saying my kids were doing, I knew how they were doing. But if there's no parental engagement, and the kids are left just totally to the system, then,
But
Dios
then,
los bendiga.
couldn't it also work the opposite? You know, couldn't our students be doing well, but according to their formula, it shows that, you know, we just don't know.
Right.
We'll just never know until, you know,
I'm
we have
worried
a
about
different,
the ones that didn't even make a progress.
kind of different measure.
And
Those
those
are
are the ones that,
I'm worried.
that's
That's
the
the
number
number.
teachers
But
focus
some of
on.
those, and
They
we talked
focus on
about
those
that,
students,
but
yeah.
the ones that didn't make approaches, and hold on to something, cause this is gonna infuriate you too. So the ones that do not pass, it's do not pass low, do not pass
That's
high.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so,
They
if
seem
I
so-
Yes, it's
grow,
ridiculous, yeah.
if I
It
don't
changes.
pass, I know, Mr. Cespedes is laughing, but it's true. If I do not pass, but I grow, then I get credit over here,
Yes.
and I didn't pass, but I get credit on 2A. And so, I could be, Mrs. Casas, 100% in my class, because I had growth. And I got them all to go from low do not pass to high do not pass, I got 100% in growth, but this could be,
Well,
But
to
they
me,
grew.
Yeah.
if I'm gonna answer to the community that elected me to sit here, and I'm gonna sit here and say, yay, look at this, look at that, shame on me, because their vote was para nada.
and I can tell you, Mrs. Casas, on a daily basis, I don't look at this. I look at this because this is accountability and something I have to share with
I know,
y'all.
I know.
But what we look at is, I had a meeting this afternoon with CNI, and they're not looking at this. They're looking at how many kids, what can we do with reading, what
help
can we
those
do with that?
students, right.
But this is for y'all, this is for the community, because this is what the state says.
And that hasn't changed
I
from
know.
when I was principal. It's
It
still
makes
the
you
same.
crazy,
It's still
and
the same,
we
yeah.
agree on that, that it makes us
Yes.
crazy.
Right, right.
We all agree on that. So, that's the benchmarks.
Everybody understand?
No, we don't have.
Move along,
Moving
Mrs.
on.
But thank you for the question, because it does enlighten everybody as to how easy it is.
Thank you.
And I do, and you're going to, I almost sent it to y'all, I do have the 55-page explanation of it, which would make you
It's okay.
And if y'all wanna see it.
No, we don't want to. Okay. So for consent agenda, oh, thank you, by the way, Mrs. Sotos. You're welcome. For consent agenda, there are 5 items. The monthly tax report, certification of provision of instructional materials 2026, 2027, waiver for low attendance on January 26, 2026 due to inclement weather, recommend approval of requests for proposals for E-rate 26 project, and to delegate authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for said projects not to exceed $330,040.48. And finally, recommend approval of resolution related to the application for the vulnerability management grant through the Texas Office of the Governor. And do I have a motion to approve the items listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Montalvo, and I have a second by Mrs. Martinez. Right? Yes, Mrs. Sorry, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. It has been moved and seconded to approve the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried, 6-0. First item to consider and possible action, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the 26-27 academic school calendar.
Good evening, board. I promise mine is simple. Tonight we present the proposed 26-27 academic school calendar. 3 calendar options were provided to our staff for consideration and voting. On the screen, you'll see the breakdown of the instructional days, staff development days, and preparation days. And based on that, calendar option number 1 received a majority of the staff vote. And you'll see the calendar number option.
Option 3.
Yes, option 3, sorry. So, with that, therefore, it is the recommendation of administration to approve, the 26-27 academic school calendar as presented.
Any questions of Mrs. Thomas?
I said one.
No, that's
Do
good.
you have a motion?
Yes, Madam President. I move to approve the 2026-2027 academic school calendar.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2026-2027 academic school calendar. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the superintendent's performance goals for 2026.
Thank you, Board President. So last month, we shared the performance goals with you. I did have a couple of people call and ask a couple of questions. And so tonight, we're coming to approve these. Now, these are the superintendent performance goals. The district improvement plan is another plan that we have goals that are a little bit more specific toward campuses and so forth, and that we'll approve those in June. So these particular goals, the first one, we're looking at accountability. We will always have accountability. In the evaluation, you have, the section 1 of the evaluation is all about academics. And then on section 2, we have the superintendent performance goals, and then section 3 is everything else that goes with it. And so you can see on goal number 1, we have accountability. We also have added MAP growth on activity 3. That's something we didn't have last year because MAP growth is what we're going into in 2 years. It will no longer be STAR. It will be something similar. It's not gonna be MAP growth, but it will be that type of test. MAP growth is also used for TIA, and that's how our teachers receive TIA funds. So we thought it was important to include that, to make sure we're making gains. Added some with our fine arts to see how at the elementary through ACE we could add drumline, try to support our mariachis a little bit by offering something in the elementary. Certification and graduation, this is very vague, but in our DIP, we get a little bit more specific about this is how many we had and what we're trying to add. This is the type we're trying to have. We're about to add pharmacy tech, and we weren't planning on adding that this year, but ACE is able to do that because our new teacher that we hired is able to provide that certification. So juniors will start this spring, work through the summer, and go through next year. It takes that long, but they will be able to graduate with pharmacy tech. So again, Ms. Casas, I'm looking at you because you and I met the other day, but I do agree with you also about that job readiness and how many certifications can we get where they walk up the door, and I know a lot of y'all talked about the same thing. Ms. Martinez, I think we talked about it when I met with both of you. So we're looking at that as well. Also, we don't wanna just have internship in the summer. We think it's important to have an event where throughout the year a student can job shadow. So we're going to have something in the fall and something in the spring where a student can job shadow for the day. And that's something that we haven't ever done before, but we think some students can do it in the summer, but if we could have a job shadowing type of event so they can say, do I really wanna do this? And let me go shadow for the day. And again, a business wouldn't have to open up for 2 weeks. they would have to open it up for a few hours and let them job shadow. So that's a new initiative that we're going to talk about. Y'all can stop me at any time.
Well, one of the things that, and you told me that, I wanted to see that, it says, if, as, for all systems will be implemented to achieve the goal. You said the goal will find out in the
The DIP has goals for college readiness and for certification, that's goal 5, and we have all of those. So in the DIP is where every campus talks about how they're gonna do that, and that gets a little more specific.
Yes, and I do wanna, recognize Cassandra, for the model that she presented at Region 1, and I can see why they put her twice, because she actually has a very good model. Now, the challenge is, as I was seeing the presentation, the challenge is, we had 40 or something, participants, and it went down to, about half. And so to me, because it's such a good model, let's figure out what happened to the other 20 that didn't come. Cause like for us, and here I'm speaking as representing our businesses that we have. We still have 2 of them that went through that program with us, that still come and work during their break in college and what have you. And like I mentioned to you the other day, Cindy, and more I'm realizing that no, it's not Gloria Casas public education at all. It's more Gloria Casas economic development. Public education just helps me meet some of the goals that I have for economic development. And so the model that Cassandra presented over there, I heard a lot of good comments about it. But the only thing that I would be curious to know, why did we go from 40 to just 20 participants? I know why we did it, that we didn't come this year. I mean, I have to work. I can't come to these meetings anymore because afuera, and I know that I use this statement freely, and I shouldn't, because people have reasons why they don't wanna work. So I would really stick to that model that Cassandra has and figure out how we can get more input.
And I can tell you, we did a couple of things that we have cut down. One of the things is, the very first year, we just got a lot of businesses of all types and then tried to fit the students in these businesses. After that, and she went over the survey, we got surveys to ask the students, what kind of businesses do you want to go into? So we used to have a lot, and we would have nobody that really wanted to apply for some of these, and now a lot of it tends to be the health field. And so we have 4 or 5 different things. Another thing that they did is, we opened it up to not just internship, but also jobs and also volunteering. So while we may have cut down here, we've added here and we've added here. So we have some that just hire. It's not an internship, we're looking for a job. And so we had students that were hired for the job. So we've spread it out a little bit. Do you need an internship? Do you need a job? Or do you need volunteer hours? And some, and that's why it's cut down.
But see, going back to what I said, our job as public education is to be the feeders for the workforce. So, because the kids don't want to go do X, Y, and Z, so does that mean we're not going to address it, even though that business needs employees? And I think that's where public education is failing, because they're going, well, the kids wanna do this, the kids wanna do this, well, fine. But what about the responsibility that public education has to fill the needs of the workforce? They are the workforce, those kids, whether they like it or not,
And
so I feel that at that point is when we have to make it inviting for them. And we have to have input from those employees that supposedly the kids don't wanna go to that field. Today, I was very, very happy. We had a celebration, a birthday celebration, and one of our employees walked in with this shirt that said Science of Construction, A&M. And I said, where did you get that shirt? And he said, oh, well, when I was in school, I went with this group of kids, and we went all over Texas to look at different projects. and I said, do you know that I was involved with bringing that program to Edinburgh? And he says, you were? I said, yes. And I said, so what happened that you did not go into the A&M Science of Construction program? He says, well, you know, I really didn't understand it. I liked the different sites that we went to visit, but, you know, he really didn't understand it. And so I was kinda happy that he got a taste of that, and I was kinda happy that someone from La Feria had actually gone. And I'll give you the name, and you know what, Cindy, I would be interested in knowing, and it's private information, but if you will look to see if this little boy even took any CTE classes. Because he went on the trip with the A&M, and he has a nice shirt to show for it.
You were
But-
saying, I'm sorry?
What I was gonna say is, I think it's important that people go to a job that they're gonna wake up every morning. Because otherwise, I work in a field where there's a lot of call-ins, you know, and then it leaves us understaffed. It leaves the pressure on somebody else to cover, you know, and so, you know, I disagree that we force them into a position that they don't want to go into, because then you end up laying that burden on your coworkers when you're like, well, I don't wanna go to work today, I just don't like my job. And so, you know, that's why I think it's great that we do poll the students and see. When I was in pharmacy technician school, my dean, a week before I graduated, she says, your job has not been created yet. You know, use your creativity to create a job that you're gonna get up every morning to. And that's where the saying comes, you know, you never, when you like your job, you never work a day in your life.
You
know?
want to go to work.
Exactly. And so so I think it's a great idea that we do poll the students,
If
and
you don't like your job,
you're not gonna,
what kind of a worker are you going to be?
The
Would
only
you be a good
challenge,
worker?
the only challenge with that is that if we all could get the job we wanted, it would be a beautiful world. Unfortunately, sometimes the jobs that we want, we can't finish college, or we can't do that to do the job that we want. You know, I remember distinctly the young man that was gonna go develop programs, with, AI or whatever. He couldn't get past his freshman year in college. So he ended up being a busser at one of the restaurants, because he could not, finish his education to do the job of his dreams. So I think, again, this is parental engagement. If my son wants to be X, Y, and Z, well, by golly, let me make sure that they do well in school so that they can be successful. And we don't have that parental engagement.
Thank you, Ms. Castro.
Thank you.
Want to continue?
Goal 2, we discussed, and this one, the curriculum, the framework, we're basically starting that this spring and going into the summer. We have Bluebonnet for math, but for our other subject areas, we don't have the non-negotiables, we don't have the foundation. And so that is something that going through, when our C&I department has been going to Region 1 and discussing that is something that we need to develop. So we will be doing that this spring and in June. AI is something else that we need training on the platform. How do you use AI where it's beneficial for our staff? And this particular one, so Magic School is an example of a platform. Doesn't mean that's the one that we're going to do, but if I have a student come in and Anna comes in and I can plug Anna's latest test results in, and it can give me lessons and activities and things through AI that can help Anna. Also for administrators, besides teachers, there's Ask Idra. That's another one that I can put in my board policy, I can put in our handbook, I can put in all of our data. And then if I need to write a letter, I just say, write a letter for this, and instantly it writes a letter and it pulls out all that data. So that's what we want to make sure our training is. I met with our inclusion paraprofessionals, and I asked a para, when you sit down with biology, you sit down with Algebra 1, you sit down with 5th grade math, how do you help the student? And so through AI, you can actually take a picture of the problem and say, using the Texas Curriculum Bluebonnet, show me the steps to help a child in 5th grade solve this problem. And so every para that we have already has an iPad, and so we wanna train them to how they can help them with the steps, because not every para understands all of that they have to sit down with. And through the AI, we wanna train them on how they can do that. So
You-
that's how we're going
That
to use.
AI is something else.
Mhm.
You know that Eddie was trying to figure out how he's going to finish up that second part of the pharmacy building. And he would put into this thing, I wanted to look, whatever style, and he would put out the picture
It does.
of
It's-
what he had
yes.
to do.
But it can, you just have to know how to use it and how to probe it, and that's something that we're gonna talk. We've already talked about the parent advisory, and then this is something that I talked to a couple of board members about when we met with our sessions about how do we help our special ed students when they transition from education to college. Not everybody has a parent to push them in that direction, so what are the different things that we can do to help them know the kind of assistance and the kind of support that they can get as they make that transition? So that's something that we want to push for next year. Goal 3, we have had the same character education since I started working here in 1989. I don't even know if half the people use it anymore, but that is what we used. We wanna make sure now that, now we have some that the elementary uses, some junior high, it's all over the place. Ms. Ramos has been working with the counselors, and so next year we want the 6 pillars, and we want from pre-K all the way up, that we're all talking the same language. So a student starts out in pre-K, when they get to 6th grade, what does LaFerre ISD believe? What do we teach you? Well, we teach you integrity, we teach you these 6 particular areas. So we wanna be more streamlined then. We've already started, Ms. Ramos has been working with the counselors at DAP for EverFi, and it's all about wellness and meeting with those students. We also wanna make sure our attendance, Mr. Cespedes and I have been talking about it. Last year, a low attendance day was 91-92%. Now a low attendance day for us is in the 94s, because every day we're hitting 95s for the most part. So it has increased so much, but we know that if they're involved in something, if they are in ACE program, if they are in a club, a chess, they're gonna come to school every day because of that. So our goal is to identify all the students and try to get them plugged in something. And that way they'll wanna come to school and try to increase the number that we have now plugged into something to what we have in the future. And again, back to what you're saying, if they're not in something, talking to the parent and saying, can they stay for the after-school program? Let me tell you how that could benefit them and things like that.
We had an employee today, Cindy, that we had a party, and her daughter didn't wanna go to school, so she wanted to go to the party. And so she went to the party, and I was telling the mother, do you know that the school is losing, I said, I don't know, $50-$60 because your daughter didn't go to school. And she says, but why? All the other kids went. I said, well, they pay the school per student, and the mother didn't know that.
We did have a parent in one of our town halls that thought that if it was an excused absence, that we still got the money. They didn't realize that absence is no funding.
Well, the money factor aside, what is the child learning but not, that's how I as a principal look at it. What did your child miss today?
Yes, we also about decreasing the number of behavior issues and monitoring that and having a system in place. Mrs. Ramos was looking today about quarterly reviews and seeing, not waiting till the end of the year, but kind of like we do our pulse surveys where we do it 3 times a year, but making sure that we're monitoring that throughout. And then still looking at vaping, that's still a very big concern that we have, making sure that we have presentations so that we can understand that. And then the last one, besides activity 2 that we promised the community and also the board that we would give the bond updates, but we wanna make sure that we're taking care of our facilities that are outside of the bond, and that have nothing to do with the bond. If you look at Sam Houston, it's in need of painting, and so making sure that we always look at what we have. There's a sidewalk at Green that had nothing to do with the paving, but we really need to fix in order to make it a better, what's the word I'm looking for, Alex?
Well, one, make it ADA compliant.
Yes. I was trying not to say that, but thank you. But another one is, right now, when you get out of the car in the front parking lot, you walk through the parking lot to that sidewalk. we need a sidewalk at the top so that they don't have to walk through the parking lot, so for safety things. So those are the things that we're talking about, and so we're constantly looking at our facilities to see what we need to do. So again, this is only one out of 3 components of a superintendent evaluation. Part 3 deals with everything else, community, parental, everything else is part 3. Our DIP has a whole goal of nothing but parental. And so, that is something that we still focus on, but these are specific things, that, outside of that.
Any questions of Mrs. Torres?
One thing that I recommend is, and I congratulate you for doing this, using the Texas Promise, the Vision for Public Education. I went ahead and went through each of the articles, and I really encourage all the board members to read that. It's just a one-pager. And every article has, you know, really what we need to be addressing.
And that, yes, and my goal for that is to hit on all of those in the next so many years, because we may not have hit on everything this year, but the Texas Promise is something that I shared as I'm gonna task a committee, and one of the things we did is we need to say, what do we stand for in public education, what are our goals? And so we came up with the Texas Promise, and these are our goals. So instead of us every year just shooting out things, we should be aligning to something bigger than us. And so that's what I tried to do here, is align it to what the state is saying public education is all about. And so then the following year, doing the same thing and digging deeper.
And it's just a one-pager, very simple reading.
And I think I sent that in a board update.
Yeah, I think you can read it, very good.
Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the superintendent's performance goals 2026.
And do I have a second? I have a second by Mrs. Martinez. It's been moved and seconded to approve the superintendent performance goals for 2026. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve a perpetual easement and right-of-way granted to AEP Texas Incorporated for electric distribution lines at the new baseball and softball fields location.
Thank you, Board President Castillo. First of all, I'm very passionate about my job, so I didn't even know I was working.
That's why you come
On
to.
camera, so I didn't even know I was working. I know what I do. But, this one that we're doing is the AEP so that we can pass, electricity and service to the new baseball and softball fields. We do have to have the board approve, a right-of-way or an easement, for AEP Texas. And so the two, if you all look at the image on the screen, the 2 red markers, the one that's closer to the driveway, that's where the utility pole is gonna go. So they'll be running utility, and of course they need this is a requirement, they need the easement. So it's pretty much, if they ever need to service these, those are technically theirs. And then, the other red box that's inside the field, that's where the transformer is gonna go. And so this is again, something that the board has to approve, so that's one of the requirements that AEP Texas, has, so that they can go ahead and provide that. Once we do that, if the board approves, we'll provide a copy to them on the right-of-way and the easement, and then we'll go ahead and work with them to schedule something, and we'll make sure that, of course, they said there'll be no interruptions to the school, and if there does have to be an interruption, we'll make sure that it's when there's no classroom instruction going on. Any questions on this one?
Questions of Mr. Cespedes? And do I have a motion?
I move we approve a perpetual easement and right-of-way granted to AEP Texas Inc. for electric distribution lines at the new baseball and softball fields location.
And do I have a second? A second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve a perpetual easement and right-of-way granted to AEP Texas Incorporated for electric distribution lines at the new baseball and softball fields location. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract for electricity with the Texas Public Energy Alliance, TPEA.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So as you all know, the district, we're part of the Texas Public Energy Alliance. So we've been with them for, about, I think, since 2011 or 2012. So what we do is, the last time we entered into an electricity contract, it was back in 2020. I think that's what the last time we extended it for 6 years. And so that's gonna come and gonna expire at the end of April 2026. So once that expires, the contract says, again, we go through the co-op, which the co-op is a TPEA, and our energy supplier currently is TXU, right? So they're the ones that supply. If we do not do any type of contract extension, then what it'll do is it'll be on a month-to-month basis. What I wanted to point out was, back when this was done, right, and I think it's been going on like this for like the last 10, 15 years, right? At that, you know, every year it seems like, oh, electricity costs will go up and up and up. So when we had locked in this rate back in 2020, it was 41.29 per megawatts. And so to kind of put a little bit of perspective into that, right now, you know, they're around the low 60s. And this is something that I had talked about with Mr. Cavazos, that regardless of, you know, this contract was gonna expire, you know, eventually, which we're right around the corner. This is something that when we are doing our budget preparations for next year, you know, we're expecting to increase our cost for 20 to 30%. And it's a substantial amount. And that's just something that's out of our control. Having said that, you know, if the board does approve this, we'll work with our consultant that's part of TPEA to try to get a 1 or 2 year contract. It does vary. It may sound a little bit silly, but sometimes it's within hours that the rates can change. And given the geopolitics right now, I mean, those rates can fluctuate day to day. And we kind of saw something similar when we were doing the refunding of the bonds with the market. So this is something the same, but it's an electricity market. And so again, we're just asking that the board authorizes the superintendent to enter into a contract. We're hoping, again, we'll look at those contracts, the length, the terms, and see what's best for us. But one of the facts is for sure, you know, our electricity costs will go up 20 to 30%.
So what is, like, let's say a monthly cost right now?
So right now, the district, we pay around almost $1 million a year for electricity costs for the district, so. And then so about 20, 30%, you're talking about like 200,000, so it's significant. It is.
Any questions for Mr. Cespedes? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract for electricity with the Texas Public Energy Alliance, TPEA.
And do I have a second? I have a second by Mrs. Martinez. It's been moved and seconded to approve the superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract for electricity with the Texas Public Energy Alliance, TPEA. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve a construction delivery method for the La Feria Early College High School fencing project.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. So this one, what we're doing is, I wanted to show a timeline on the fencing, because I know you might ask, you know, we've brought this item, I think, like 3 different times, but everything's for a different purpose. I know some of the questions are like the language, the motion language, the other reading is very long, and this is a perfect example that what we're trying to do is kind of consolidate those so that we don't have to be coming back month after month after month. And so what we're coming in is just to have a formal approval. A lot of these, if you look at our local policy, we have to look at what Texas government code says and their definition of a construction project. What I was gonna say, a lot of these agendas that y'all see, it says to approve for construction services, and we've been asked, well, you know, canopies or digital marquees, are those construction projects really? But under that definition, the answer is yes. So like, for example, fencing, because it's a significant improvement to our property, and because of the amount, it is considered a construction project. Having said that, it goes by different rules, and construction projects require more board approvals as opposed to some other goods and services. And so that's why we're coming so that we have a formal approval on our board minutes that the construction project for the fencing project, that it was approved by the board.
Questions? Motion?
I move we approve a construction delivery method for the La Feria Early College High School fencing project.
And do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Martinez. It's been moved and seconded to approve a construction delivery method for the La Feria Early College High School fencing project. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, motion carried. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve change order 001 to amend owner contractor agreement with Argio Roofing and Construction LLC for roofing, improvement bond project.
Thank you, ma'am. So what we're bringing is change order number 1 for this project. If I go to this slide, you have to see back in December, the board approved, at the December 8 regular board meeting, the board approved for us to, for the superintendent to negotiate a contract with Argio Roofing. And so remember that one, we went out for a CSP. At the time, the scope of work was just complete roof replacements. So they did do an assessment of all of our roofs. What we're bringing forth are just roof repairs. And so it would be, we kind of gave a little bit of the scope of work at the high school, at W.B. Green Middle School, at Sanchez and Dominguez Elementary, and at Central Kitchen. So these are just gonna be some repairs to the current roofs. Some of those roofs are still have very good condition. Central Kitchen is one that we would have to look at, in the next 5 to 7 years for a complete roof replacement. But this is just to amend the original agreement, which the board approved for us not to exceed the $2,944,000. And the cost of this, of all these repairs, change order number 1 would be $47,510.90. It's less than a 1% increase, but again, it does need formal board approval for us to add it to the total contract amount.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the change order number 1 to amend owner contractor agreement with Argio Roofing and Construction LLC for roofing improvement bond project.
And do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve change order number 1 to amend owner contractor agreement with Argio Roofing and Construction LLC for roofing improvement bond project. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve rubber flooring systems, DBA RFS Sports, from an interlocal purchasing cooperative to provide construction services for the district's gym bleachers and gym flooring projects at La Feria Early College High School, William B. Green Middle School, Noemi Dominguez Elementary, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $897,611.61.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, so this one we brought back to the board last month, and the board had authorized the superintendent to negotiate, and the initial awarded vendor was, if you see here, it was Joco. And so once it was approved, in the first meeting that we had with them, once we started looking at the details, the specs that they bid on wasn't what we had requested from them. And so again, we wanted to make sure that we wanted to get exactly what we're looking for. So they did have to reprice that, so when they did, it did come in a lot higher than the original bid. So having said that, we decided to go with the second option, which then would be RFS Sports. And so RFS Sports, again, the reason I did was options 1 and 2. Option 1, and that's just for the pattern of the gymnasium. If y'all know currently the pattern that it has, the square, that's a parquet, the TD Garden for the Boston Celtics. And so it's option 1 where it's a little bit more basic, or the parquet pattern. So what we're recommending is that, that the board allow us to enter into negotiations with RFS Sports. Their total cost for option 2 would be $897,611, which is actually about a little bit under $3,000 more than what you all had approved with Joco last month.
Questions of Mr. Cespedes? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve Rubber Flooring Systems, DBA RFS Sports, from an interlocal cooperative purchasing method to provide construction services for the district's gym, bleachers, and gym flooring projects at La Feria Early College High School, W.B. Green Middle School, and Noemi Dominguez Elementary, and ratify the superintendent's earlier evaluation and recommendation of previous vendor and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $897,611.61.
I have a question. Where are they from, RJF Sports?
RFS Sports, they do have a local company, I believe their main offices are out of San Antonio. But they do have, they have a location here, I believe they're in McAllen. Yes,
Thank you.
yes ma'am.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Briones. It's been moved and seconded to approve Rubber Flooring Systems, DBA RFS Sports, from an interlocal cooperative purchasing method to provide construction services for the district's gym bleachers and gym flooring projects at La Feria Early College High School, William B. Green Middle School, and Nomi Dominguez Elementary, and ratify the superintendent's further evaluation and recommendation of previous vendor, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $897,611.61. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, motion carried 6-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the W.B. Green Middle School paving and drainage improvement project as substantially complete.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So our CV local policy says that for all of our construction projects, once they're nearing the end and once they reach a substantial completion, meaning that there's only a punch list waiting small items to complete, we do have to bring it to the board for approval, that the board accepts the project as, again, substantially complete, because then that will allow us to issue out final payment once they completed that punch list. So we have been working with Vencer, as y'all recall, Vencer Contractors were the ones that were awarded the WB Green, the paving and the drainage improvements that they did. And if I go on to the next one, we had given them around early to middle of January, we gave them a punch list. And these are some of the things that they still had pending that they've already completed. And again, this is one of the ones that, the seal joint between the concrete and some of the asphalt. I'll let y'all guess whose silhouette that is. That's not me. I know what y'all are thinking, but that's not me, so, it looks like it's not. So if there's any questions on this, if the board does approve, we are working with our civil engineer, Justin Moore, and to do the final payout to issue our final
And
payment.
so he inspected everything, he verified that everything was done correctly as he requested. So he's also saying that it's complete. Mr. Moore.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the WB Green Middle School paving and drainage improvement project as substantially complete.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve Scoggins Construction Company Incorporated from the competitive seal proposals to provide construction services for the district's walkway canopy project at La Feria Early College High School, William B. Green Middle School, Sam Houston Elementary, and Nomi Dominguez Elementary, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $595,000.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. So again, this is one of the ones that we're working with Fulcrum Consulting Services. This was a competitive seal proposal that we had out there that we advertised. We had a total of 3 bidders submit a bid. The recommendation that we bring in is the second bidder, as y'all can see in the tabulations sheet. Ariza General Construction submitted an incomplete bid, so we did go with the second bidder, which was Scoggins Construction. And again, this is to approve us to enter into negotiation with the contractor, and then once we do that, and once everything is agreed and they do sign a contract, then we can give them a notice to proceed. And then that's, I believe, when they can go ahead and start the work. Earlier, when we were showing the website, those are the actual plans that Fulcrum created. So those are the walkway plans that'll be out there. The biggest one obviously being green, but all the campuses, I believe except, Sanchez are the ones that will be getting some type of a walkway improvement, or canopy improvements.
Questions? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve Scoggins Construction Company, Inc. from the competitive sealed proposals to provide construction services for the district's walkway canopy projects at La Feria Early College High School, WB Green Middle School, Sam Houston Elementary, and Noemi Dominguez Elementary, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $595,000.
And do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Martinez. It's been moved and seconded to approve Scoggins Construction Company Incorporated from the competitive sealed proposals to provide construction services for the district's walkway canopy projects at La Feria Early College High School, William B. Green Middle School, Sam Houston Elementary, and Noemi Dominguez Elementary, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $595,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried, 6-0. Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve to authorize the superintendent as a member of the South Texas Health Cooperative, the plan sponsor, to advertise for requests for proposals for health insurance consulting services.
Thank you, ma'am. So again, this is something that, I know that when Mr. Cavazos is here, has been working with y'all to, I think it's a good practice for us to go out for bid for some of our services. I know that, remember we did that in the summer, well, back in the spring and into summer for our employee benefits. So what we're asking here is to authorize the superintendent, recall that our health insurance for our employees is the South Texas Health Cooperative, right? And that's made up of our district and Riondo, CISD. And so the two superintendents are the two trustees for the co-op, but they would need the authority to allow us to go and advertise for proposals to look for health insurance consulting services. So it's pretty much for somebody to see if they can help us out to manage the program. So it has nothing to do with the actual health insurance, but the consulting services part of it, yes. And this again, I think it's good practice that Mr. Cavazos has implemented, so this is something we wanted to continue.
Questions? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the superintendent as a trustee member of the South Texas Cooperative, the plan sponsor, to advertise for request for proposals for health insurance consulting services.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the superintendent as a trustee member of the South Texas Cooperative, the plan sponsor, to advertise for request for proposals for health insurance consulting services. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say aye. Motion carries 6-0. And finally, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve a construction delivery method for the digital marquee bond project and delegate authority to the superintendent to procurement.
Thank you, ma'am. So this one, again, we're going back to our original procurement method, where we're asking the board if we can go that route. Back in June, the board had approved for us to do delivery method of competitive seal proposals. And remember, we worked with Fulcrum Consulting Services, and we did bid it out. At that time, we didn't get any bidders for that, so we did ask the board if then, at the December board meeting, if we could go the interlocal contract, which is the co-ops. And at that point, we did reach out to several companies. We did get a good amount of them reaching out. However, because when it comes to marquees or electrical signs, a lot of them are every business is very different, it's distinguished. So they usually, a lot of them don't belong to co-ops. So again, we wouldn't be able to bring you a vendor to approve if they're not part of a co-op. And so we're asking if we can then go ahead and advertise again through the newspaper as a competitive seal proposal. So then these we'll put out again in the Valley Morning Star, work with Fulcrum, and then hopefully bring it back to the board next month or in the May board meeting to approve a vendor and to negotiate a contract.
questions of Mr. Chacon? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve a procurement method provided by Texas Government Code 2269 for construction services and Texas Education Code 44.031A5 for the digital marquees bond project and to delegate authority to the superintendent to proceed with the selected procurement that provides the best value for the district.
And do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Villones. It's been moved and
I do
seconded.
have a,
I'm sorry, you
I do have a question about it
Oh,
also
I'm
though.
sorry, I was,
So,
go ahead.
so do we have to choose a procurement method, or this is just, so are we, in the motion, are we choosing a procurement method or not?
So this one, yeah, through the Texas Government Code, chapter 2269, it does list them. So
Okay.
it has competitive CO proposals, it has request for proposals, competitive bidding, and it even has the interlocal contract, but that way, where it says to authorize the superintendent to proceed with the selected procurement, that allows us to select one, but we do
So-
wanna do,
So that allows to choose from any of them, we don't have
That's
to
right, that's
specify
correct.
which one?
that's correct.
Okay.
And it's a total of 6 of those, yes.
And as he's been working, you know, we came with the procurement method of the sealed bids and then the interlocal agreement. In case for some reason
That's
we
right.
don't get a bid again, the last thing we wanna do is have to come back. So right now, we will still bring it back whenever we do get something, but this is just telling us you can get whatever procurement method that you're gonna need to in order to get somewhere.
Yeah, like if you look at our CV legal policy, which is a construction of facilities, and there it'll state, and it has the 6 procurement methods that are allowed. Competitive, which again, it's, the most common one is your competitive sealed, and then of course you have competitive bidding and interlocal contracts and some other ones.
Do I have a second?
You already seconded.
We had a question.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. Question
He
before or
decided to
after?
sec- he decided to second it now. It's been moved and seconded to approve a procurement method provided by Texas Government Code 2269 for construction services and Texas Education Code 44.031A5 for the digital marquee bond project and to delegate authority to the superintendent to proceed with a selective procurement that provides the best value for the district. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, motion carried. It is now 7:27 PM, and we're moving into closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Thank you, sir. It is now 8 PM, and we are reconvened into open session. Let the record show that the superintendent approved the resignations as presented by administration in closed session. Annette Harvin, Robbie James Jr., Marisela Castillo Muñiz, and Sergio Rodriguez. Are there any motions?
Yes, Madam President, new to the district, Christina Robedo, 1-year probationary contract, LSSP intern, UTRGV grant.
And do I have a second? A second by Mrs. Martinez. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried, 6-0. Any other motions?
Yes, Madam President, contracts for professional personnel, approval of teachers, librarians, counselors, and professional staff contracts for the 2026-2027 school year.
And do I have a second?
Second.
By, Mrs. Martinez? Mrs. Martinez? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried, 6-0. Any other motions?
Madam President, I would like to motion to clarify previous motion on item 7E, that we select the interlocal cooperative purchasing method for the La Feria Early College High School fencing project as providing the best value for the district and delegate the authority to the superintendent to proceed with selected procurement.
And do I have a second? Have a second by Mrs. Martinez. It's been moved and seconded to clarify previous motion of item 7E that we select the interlocal cooperative purchasing method for the La Feria Early College High High School fencing project as providing the best value for the district and delegate the authority to the superintendent to proceed with the selected procurement. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, motion carried. Any other motion?
Yes, Madam President. I would like to motion to clarify previous motion on item 7K, that we select competitive sealed proposals as the delivery method for construction services for the Digital Marquees Bond Project, as providing the best value for the district, and delegate the authority to the superintendent to proceed with the selected procurement.
And do I have a second? I have a second by Mrs. Martinez. It's been moved and seconded to clarify previous motion on item 7K, that we develop competitive sealed proposals as a delivery method for construction services for the Digital Marquees Bond Project, as providing the best value for the district, and delegate the authority to the superintendent to proceed with the selected procurement. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried 6-0. And I believe that is it for the motions, correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, district announcement.
Okay, so, good evening. March the 12th to the 22nd, the Rio Grande Valley Livestock Show will be going on. And we have our students showing at the Rio Grande Livestock Show. March 16th through the 20th, we are in spring break. On the 24th of March, we have the Migrant McKinney Bento Literacy Night at Lee Cafeteria at 5:30. On the 26th of March, we have the SHAC meeting in the boardroom here, 5:30. On March 30th, we have the Safety Committee meeting. And then it won't be in the boardroom, I believe it's at Sam Houston Elementary. March 31st is a Health Fair Family Night at the La Feria High School parking lot from 5 to 8. Then we'll go into Easter holiday, April the 3rd through the 6th. And April 13th, we'll have our regular scheduled board meeting.
Any questions of Mrs. Ramos? If there is no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
A motion by Mrs. Montalvo, do I have a second by Mrs. Martinez? It is now 8:05 PM, and this meeting is adjourned.